Be sure to pre-order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion as he takes you through the ins and outs of the most explosive offense and most exciting offense in college football. You can find it on our website at footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Welcome to Football Game Plan, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the Playbook. Mike McCarthy is your producer today. It's the summertime and preseason is just around the corner in the NFL, and we'll get you ready for the upcoming 2019 NFL season as we preview the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kick off the season preview, let us take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the season as we go into our 4-minute offense.
In Pittsburgh, the loss of Antonio Brown is a major detractor to the passing attack. Over the last 3 seasons alone, Brown has caught 311 passes for 4,144 yards and 36 touchdowns. Those are certainly big shoes to fill for Juju Smith-Schuster. He's no slouch either though, having caught 111 passes for 1,426 yards and 7 touchdowns in 2018. Though he did have the crucial fumble in the Saints game in December that would have given the Steelers a good chance of making the playoffs last season. Look for him to take a step up in 2019 as the #1 wide receiver for the Steelers. Antonio Brown isn't the only superstar that the Steelers need to replace. Le'Veon Bell is also no longer playing for the black and gold. Having sat out the entire 2018 season over a contract dispute, it was clear that his time in Pittsburgh was over. After he moved to the Jets, James Conner sits atop the depth chart as he looks to follow up on his breakout second-year campaign. In 13 games, Conner racked up 1,470 yards and 13 touchdowns. He'll look to better those numbers in 2019. Replacing Ryan Shazier has been a difficult proposition for the Steelers since his devastating spine injury in 2017. Vince Williams and John Bostic didn't quite do the job last season, so Devin Bush was selected with the 10th overall pick in the 2019 draft. A consensus All-American and Defensive Player of the Year for the Big Ten, Bush arrives in Pittsburgh with accolades and also big shoes to fill. If he can play well in 2019 and Shazier can continue his miraculous recovery, then the days of dominant Steelers linebackers will be back. One thing that the Steelers need to improve on in 2019 is complementary football. Last season, they ranked 3rd to last in takeaways, which kept their defense on the field a ton. They also had one of the league worst run-pass ratios, only running the ball 33% of the time and throwing it 67%. If Ryan Fichtner can improve the offensive balance and Keith Butler can improve the quality of the defense, then the Steelers will be a lock to make the playoffs in 2019.
It's time to put this team under the microscope and go position by position to see where they stand as we head into the 2019 season, and we'll start on the offensive side of the ball at the quarterback position. Ben Roethlisberger posted career highs last year in the number of pass attempts and completions, as well as yards, with 5,129. He also threw 34 touchdown passes. He also tossed a league-leading 16 interceptions. Now, I'm not too worried about that interception number, as he tends to average between 10 to 13 interceptions a year. The most important part of that number is when and where those interceptions occur. But what stands out to me the most is the fact that he is still a very productive player at 37 and gives the Steelers the best chance to win it all and also win on Sunday. Now, behind him, there still isn't a true heir apparent to when he decides to hang him up. There are 2 players drafted within the last 3 years in Josh Dobbs and Mason Rudolph that'll battle for that QB2 spot. Dobbs has better situational awareness than Rudolph, which is why he won the job last season. The Steelers have a pretty stable backfield with James Conner, Jalen Samuels, and rookie 4th-round pick Benny Snell out of Kentucky. What they all lack is the explosive element to their game. In my opinion, they're all very similar in that they do a solid job of keeping the run game on pace, and they're very solid receivers out of the backfield. So in that regard, they're very interchangeable and should be very productive for Pittsburgh this upcoming season. A lot of attention will be on the receiving core this year, as they'll no longer have Antonio Brown out there on the perimeter. That means 3rd-year star wideout Juju Smith-Schuster will assume the role of the Steelers' #1 option in the passing game. The former USC Trojan has gotten better each season in the NFL and will be looked upon to be the leader of a unit that will be asking a bevy of other candidates to step up and raise their level of play as well. One guy in particular that could be primed for a breakout season is second-year player James Washington. His first season was a bit up and down, but you start to see him come on later on in the season, and you still love his ability to track the football and fight for a reception. After getting acclimated to the offense, expect the game to slow down for Washington in year 2. The biggest battle will occur in the slot as Ryan Switzer and Eli Rogers will compete with rookie third-round pick Deontay Johnson out of Toledo. Now, Johnson has a ton of speed and is explosive after the catch, and it'll be just a matter of time before he finds his way in the lineup. In free agency, they added Dante Moncrief, who's another wideout that has that vertical speed that they want in the offense. The Steelers have a good one in tight end Vance McDonald, and he's a legitimate threat in the passing game. McDonald finished third on the team in receiving yards, fourth in catches, and third in touchdowns. If the Steelers can't figure out their third receiver situation, he figures to fill that void on the outside. Who will fill that void at tight end number 2 is the only question they have at this position, as they also have Xavier Grimble and 5th round pick Zach Gentry. Both of those guys will be vying for that role. Stability is king in football, and the Steelers have that as well as depth along the offensive line. They have the best O-line in the division, in my opinion, and will add a new name for the National Observer in Matt Fielder, who started last season and played really well. Look for him to become a household name this upcoming year. Now, I spoke of the depth earlier. Reserve center B.J. Finney and tackle Chukuma Okorafor first stand out amongst this group of reserves, and I'm interested to see what Gerald Hawkins, rookie 7th round pick Darren Gray, and undrafted rookie free agent Fred Johnson out of Florida can bring to the table this upcoming preseason. Now, here are my grades for the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive units. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball and starting with the defensive line, I think it's as stable as their offensive counterparts. Both Cam Hayward and Javon Hargrave are really good players, good frontline players. Stephon Tuitt is a solid player as well, although there is an opportunity for rookie 6th round pick Isaiah Buggs to force his way into the mix. Buggs has that it factor off the line of scrimmage and could either replace Tuitt outright or at worst provide really good quality depth. And speaking of quality depth, that's what Daniel McCullers and Tyson Alualu both provide. The linebacker position got a significant boost this past April with the selection of inside linebacker Devin Bush from Michigan. He's fast in all directions, has great instincts, and that dog in him that you want to see, that you need to thrive on defense. He instantly makes them better. So did TJ Watt when he was selected back in 2017. He led the team in sacks last year with 13 and figures to be the next stellar Steeler backer for quite some time. Now, teaming Bush up with Vince Williams will help keep the Steelers excellent on both ends of defense. Outside linebacker Bud Dupree is in a contract year and will be looking to hit double-digit sacks for the first time in his career. Now, I like the depth here as well with Ola Edieni, Mark Barron, Anthony Chickillo, and Tyler Matakevich. 2 rookies in Ulysses Gilbert and Sutton Smith out of Northern Illinois should factor in the mix as well. Smith more of a sub-package player, as he also has strong pass rushing ability. The Steelers will be looking to a secondary this year to be much more of a playmaking group than what they saw from them last season. The Steelers only picked off 8 passes last year, despite applying a lot of pressure on the front end, seeing that they led the league in sacks with 52. Bringing in Steven Nelson via free agency was one step closer to achieving that goal, and adding former wide receiver turned defensive back in Justin Lane out of Michigan State in the 3rd round of the NFL draft was another step. Now, Nelson picked off 4 passes last year in KC, and Lane, being a former wide receiver, has very good ball skills. I'm a big fan of nickel corner Mike Hilton and what he brings to the table. I thought he was an excellent addition to the roster 2 years ago. Joe Hayden has been a good veteran presence and solid player for them as well since coming over from the Browns. And I'm a big fan of Cam Sutton's game. He has good versatility and the ball skills, I think, to play virtually anywhere in the secondary. Keep an eye on Cam Kelly, the former Alliance of American Football player who was cut from the same cloth as Justin Lane. He's coming off a season with the San Diego Fleet that saw him pick off 4 passes and break up another 9 on the season. He's a dark horse candidate to have an impact. At safety, Sean Davis should continue to blossom into a solid player, and I'm excited to see what growth both Terrell Edmonds and also Marcus Allen will make in their second seasons. Edmonds was a bit up and down last year as a starter, and Allen dealt with an injury that essentially took away most of his rookie campaign. Allen has the versatility to play in the box as well as a backer. And here's how I graded the Steelers' defensive units. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a new wide receiver in the fold this year in Deontay Johnson, a rookie out of Toledo, and what he has as one of his best traits, in my opinion, is his explosive speed and ability to get deep down the field and track the ball. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Well, here's how they can find a way to get him deep down the field and put him in position for success this season. You look at what he brings to the table again. It's all about speed, explosiveness, and being able to track the football. We know Ben Roethlisberger still has the arm to get it deep down the field, and how you can find ways to get him open and put the safeties in the bind is by giving them something else to keep their eyes on, because we know defenders by nature are aggressive and they will tend to take the cheese, so to speak, on the first thing that they see that crosses their face. So we're going to try to influence that and make them make a bad decision. So what we're going to do on the strong side with the tight end is we're going to work him up and have him settle down right there, sort of in front of the safety, because we're going to take this outside receiver, which is James Washington in my opinion, and bring him deep. We're going to try to pull one safety away. Either we're going to hit a big deep ball down the field to James Washington because of his speed and ability to track the ball, or the safety is going to focus on that tight end settling down. And if the backer doesn't carry like he's probably, coached to do, the safety is going to have to step up and make the play, and this corner is going to be one-on-one with James Washington. Now on the front side, we're going to put Deontay Johnson in short motion. Going to bring him inside in the slot. And the reason why we do that, because we're going to work this outside receiver, Juju Smith-Schuster, up and run a dig route. By him being the Pittsburgh Steelers' de facto #1 receiver, he's going to garner a ton of attention. And if he's running a dig, this safety is going to be in the bind because he's going to have to make a choice. Do I squeeze this dig and condense it and make a play on the ball and subsequently take a shot at Juju Smith-Schuster? Or do I do what I'm supposed to do, stay deeper than the deepest, and work my way past Deontay Johnson, who's going to run a corner post? And we don't want him to bend that over the middle of the field. You kind of want him to keep this skinny. The reason being, because now it takes that safety. Okay, man, if I have to squeeze and try to carry that a little bit just to give myself a little bit more time to ride that deep route, Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be wide open over the middle of the field. Carry out your play fake block right there. But here's an opportunity for Ben Roethlisberger to put this ball right in the middle, in between those two safeties, because we know Johnson can go and track it and make the reception. But it's all about him keeping it skinny on that corner post, because again, it puts that safety in the bind. He's probably going to make the wise decision and try to condense that Juju Smith-Schuster route, putting DJ one-on-one deep down the field, and we know Roethlisberger can hit that anytime he wants to. And that's what I like about the Steelers passing game, because they find creative ways of putting guys in position to have success. One of the best moves the Pittsburgh Steelers made this offseason was trading up in the NFL draft to take inside linebacker Devin Bush out of Michigan. The reason why, because he is exactly what you want in today's game as far as an inside linebacker is concerned. Has the speed, the burst, explosiveness, and keeps you out of a lot of trouble as a defensive coach. So when you talk about what he brings to the table, whether he lines up on the right side or the left side or the right side, he has what you want. Let's say if they want to run this tight end down, the seam or what have you, Bush has the range to carry this route however long he wants to go. He also has the ability in coverage to drop deep down the middle of the field. He can man up versus backs. One thing that's unique about him is because usually when you get an outside run, and let's say you have a tight end that may is going to work up to try to get this backer block, or maybe there's an outside backer here, work here and try to work his way up and just kind of keep things cloudy for this guy to get outside. Bush has the great ability to either slice through, climb over, or run right to and beat you as a running back to the spot. This is one of your worst case scenarios as a tailback, speaking from experience, because you already think that, okay, I'm faster than linebacker, I'm going to get to my spot, and then we could meet right there in the hole and have a physical discussion. But Bush is so doggone good because he has the explosiveness to beat you to the spot while also being able to take unconventional angles to the ball and still be in good position. Let's say you're on this side and you're running some sort of blitz here with an outside backer and you need him to get over there in the flat. He has that ability to get over to the flat and still be good enough in coverage, whether that's just buzzing to his zone or getting there and carrying perhaps a wheel route down the side. He can do that as well. So the Pittsburgh Steelers made a conscious effort to get faster, more athletic, and get better defensively on the interior by taking Devin Bush. And when you combine all of those skills and traits that I just outlined here on the whiteboard, it looks like a really good decision.
Pittsburgh Steelers, we know they're going to put up points. Ben's going to throw the ball. I actually don't think they're going to run the ball with James Conner as much as they want to say. I think they took Benny Snell for a reason. Not going to be split carries, but there's going to be a decent amount of, I think there's less certainty about that position than people want to think. I think they wanted to prove a point to Le'Veon Bell last year. The receiver position, Juju Smith-Schuster's going to get a lot of targets, but the guy I like to look at is James Washington. I think James Washington's going to be a guy where you're going to be surprised how well he does this upcoming season. He's a really good receiver. Watch out for Deontay Johnson. I think they're going to like him, but it's just how quickly he can be ingratiated into the offense. Better player for dynasty purposes because, they've already compared him to Antonio Brown.
Troy Anthony here, bringing you the best bets for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers took a hit this offseason, losing Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Their win line opens up over under 9 wins. I don't think they get to 9 wins, so I'm taking the under at -110. I do like their first-round draft pick of Devin Bush. I believe he can be a stud for them on defense, and I'm looking for him to be in the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Right now, you can get him at +800 to win the award. In their Week 1 matchup, they have to go to New England. I like the under in that game at under 52 for -110. It should be a defensive game. Troy Anthony here. Follow me on Twitter at FootballFandom, replacing the O's with zeros.
I'm David Hassagen, and this is Huddle Up with Hassagen. We're going to fire off some quick takes for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What are this year's breakout candidates?
Wide receiver James Washington, because he's going to have to be that guy now that we know Antonio Brown is gone. Coverage is going to be obviously focused on Juju Smith-Schuster. Washington has to step up and take away that role of being the number 1A option in the passing game. Defensively, Mike Hinton, who I think was very good last year, very good find by the Steelers front office. He's going to be a really good corner. I think he can build on what he did last year.
A lot of pressure on Devin Bush being the impact defensive player. Is he your rookie to watch?
He's my rookie to watch on the defensive side of football. Love his instincts. He's a plug-and-play guy, impact player. He's going to be on many all-rookie teams. Offensively, I like Benny Snell, the running back from Kentucky. I think when you look at James Conner, had some injury concerns last year, missed some time. They have Jalen Samuel as well. I think Benny Snell is going to probably slide into that number 2 role, and that way they can keep Samuels on the move as an H-back more so within his offense.
Who do you think the X factors are for this Pittsburgh Steelers team?
Matt Feller at the right tackle position. I think he's going to have to step up big this year and be a guy that can really continue to keep that offensive line on pace. So Matt Feller is a right tackle, and Terrell Edmonds, the second-year safety from Virginia Tech. He was a surprise first-round pick. He's the brother of Edmonds that plays out in Buffalo. But last year he was kind of up and down. And I think when you look at what he has to be for this defense, they need him to take the next step.
Who do you think are going to be the training camp surprises this year for Pittsburgh?
I think people are going to be surprised at Ryan Switzer and what he could bring to the table. Right now, everyone's looking at the rookie Deontay Johnson as being, this is the guy that's going to be the slot guy. But hey, Ryan Switzer's right there. This is his second year in the system. He's a pretty good receiver and returner. I think people are going to remember how good of a receiver he is, and he's going to be a surprise for me on offense. Defensively, Isaiah Buggs out of Alabama. I'm a big fan of his game, was on tape. I think he was a steal where they got him, and we're going to hear his name a lot coming out of training camp.
Some people are saying this is a rebuilding year in the Steel City, but what are your causes for optimism and concern in Pittsburgh?
Well, optimistically, you look at their ability to always find receivers.
Right.
So I don't worry about the receiver position. Ben Roethlisberger is a very good quarterback. The run game is capable. I think their offense is going to be fine. And on defense, adding Devin Bush helps solidify that second level. I think they're going to be sound versus the run and still able to get pressure. So you're optimistic about the overall team. The cause for concern would be, in my opinion, the secondary. They were solid last year, but they can't have a regression. If they have a regression, it's going to be a problem. And on offense, if there's some leakage on that offensive line, again, I talked about Matt Feller. If he can't be what they expect him to be at right tackle, now you have to really keep it a tight end in to help protect, and all kind of things you have to do schematically to help out the protection. So those are some of the concerns I have for Pittsburgh this season. Emory Hunt, the czar of the Playbook here, and joining me now is fellow football game plan analyst Troy Anthony for this 4 Downs with the Czar segment, continuing our preview of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And as we take a look at the road to the Super Bowl for the Steelers, I think we have to start with their offense because that's been the talk of the offseason. Their passing game can't fall off. And the one thing the Steelers do a great job of is finding receivers. And yes, they still have a lot of holdovers. You have Juju Smith-Schuster. You have another guy out there on the perimeter coming from Oklahoma State that they drafted last year in James Washington, Ryan Switzer. They still have some capable players that were there before, and now they add some more talent with Deion Johnson that they were able to get from Toledo. So if their passing game cannot have a setback without Antonio Brown, then all is going to be forgiven and all is going to be forgotten, because if they're able to throw the football, we know what Connor can do. We know what they can do in the backfield. but I think the passing game is what everybody's going to watch. And if they don't have any fall off from losing one of the best receivers in NFL history, then the Steelers offense can stay on pace.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough for them not to have any fall off because Brown, come on, he's one of the best receivers in the league. I give you top 3. I'm not going to put them in any particular order here because that's a whole other conversation. But if they have any type of fall off, whether or not that's the case, their running game, I'm going to need a lot more out of their running game. They finished 31st in the run game last season. Now, this is the Steelers here. That's not necessarily something that you would think. They finished 31st. Connor had a season. He definitely did. In his first season, in his first whole season toting the rock for Pittsburgh, he rushed for 973 yards. I thought he would have been over 1,000 when I was checking the stats. He had a good receiving year. But what I'm going to be looking for is Jalen Samuel to come in and take some of those reps for him, to come in and catch a couple of balls out of the backfield. But I definitely need their running game to produce more if they're going to have any shot of making it to the Super Bowl.
Defensively, Pittsburgh has hung their hats on their ability to apply pressure within their front seven, especially with the outside linebacker. So I want to focus on the secondary. I think they have to consistently get better. They had some issues last year. They got better in certain spots. Mike Hinton is one guy that I really like. He was definitely a good find for the Steelers in the secondary. But at the safety position, can they get better, significantly better? Can they start to turn the ball over? Can those guys get off the field on third downs, not give up the big play in the passing game? If they do that, their front seven is going to do their part. The back four really has to do their job and really take away the opponent's ability to convert those third and medium opportunities and not give up the big play deep downfield.
Yeah, another thing about the defense I'm going to rely on this season is them not letting the close games slip away late. They've done it a lot the past couple of seasons. Last season you had the first game of the week, the first game of the season where they're beating the Browns. Late, the Browns tied up. They end up tying in overtime. That's game over. I remember the Ezekiel Elliott run to end the game. Defense gave up the game. A couple seasons ago, you had Baltimore versus Pittsburgh, last game of the season. Defense gives up the game. You know what I mean? Their defense is going to have to come together and get it done. Finish. Keyword, finish.
Well, we'll see what happens when they put all those pieces together because, again, trading up to get Devin Bush out of Michigan, to me, helps solidify them at the second level. We'll see if that secondary can get up to speed, because if so, Pittsburgh will be playing, again, deep in December, deep into January, and maybe into February. I have the Steelers finishing third in the AFC North. I think their defense will be much improved this year, especially in the secondary. Devin Bush will make an impact, but offensively, I still have some questions about whether or not this offense can be the same offense we saw 2 years ago, and that's going to be a reason why I think they take a slight step back in this division. It's going to be nip and tuck throughout the way, but I think they finished third because of their offense this year and not because of their defense. So that's it for this season preview. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the Playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of our social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to Football Game Plan Podcast on iTunes, where you can find our NFL All 32 podcasts, our fantasy football starting lineup, as well as our Scout Team podcast, and leave us a 5-star rating. Also subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Finally, every Thursday and Friday evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, be sure to check out the Football Game Plan show on the Game Plus Network. Check with your cable provider for channel listings.